Hello viewers and welcome to another Your Comments chat, an opportunity where I get to respond to your comments verbally, give a bit more vibe rather than just the short quick comments you receive, and I try to go through as many as I can on various videos. Back to back, in fact. I was doing a bit of, what was I doing? A bit of TT3 earlier and now on to Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Looking forward to this, one of the biggest games of the year. And it's just nice to talk about as well. And I know many of you have watched my recent video and lots of comments in there. And I thought I would discuss some of those and go from there. So let's kick off with some of these comments then. Dark Strider 360. He says he's concerned how we have seen zero, in capital letters, zero gameplay for this game yet. Very vague details since the time has been announced. I love TDU, but I've never felt so cautiously optimistic in my life. To which I've answered, nothing to worry about. A lot of gamers don't understand what a game in development looks like. They base everything on their first impressions, so better to wait till it looks more representative of the final product in motion. It is amazing how games come together in that last few months of development. I wanted to build on that answer for a moment. You know, when you're looking at a game and you're seeing it come together, and there'll be, I wouldn't know where this game is, but when they're building a map, there'll be parts of the map not completed. Maybe you'll have placeholders. There'll be low frame rates. There'll be long loading times. Perhaps the lighting system isn't complete. Perhaps the cloud system or the volumetric lighting isn't in there. And you'll look at it and you'll say, oh, it doesn't look very good. And you're driving along and you're saying, oh, it doesn't look that great. And then suddenly they add the reflections on the buildings, they add new textures, they add new weather, they add new lighting, they add whatever. And suddenly it all comes together and you're like, wow, looks amazing. I've seen that happen before now. And a good example was on Ridge Racer Unbounded a few years ago now, about 12 years ago now. And we saw it and it looked pretty rough. We then went and played an early build and it was all right. It was all right. It wasn't great, but it was all right. And then we looked at the final build, which was miles beyond what we had seen. Another good example was actually Burnout. Burnout 3 in 2004, wasn't it? 2004 Burnout. And Burnout 3. And again, that was one of those games. It was looking all right, but that last 3 months of development, I mean, it was a total transformation in terms of, or 6 months of development, total transformation. So it's really important that they hold it till everything is right and working well. When you have an island of Hong Kong, think about the complexity, the buildings, the weather, the cars, the online elements. I mean, I can't imagine how much detail there is to put together on a map like that, and they need to have it looking right. So I wouldn't worry too much about the zero gameplay. It's more about, let's see it when they're ready. But by showing the locations, you can see, like, for example, up there, look at those buildings. That looks amazing. That's one scene of hundreds of miles of road and square mileage that you can go around. So it shows the level of detail you're going to have just driving around. It's going to be next level. But to get all of that right, get it all running right, it's a hell of a job, and they need to put the time in to get it just perfect before they show it in a trailer. As I say, a lot of gamers out there don't understand development. They don't understand what a game looks like a few months before before its release. So it's important for the team to bring it along, get it put together, honed pretty well, and optimized a bit, and then at least they can start showing it. I've played early games for years, and people say to me sometimes, what does it look like? And I say, well, it's a work in progress. People ask me about the graphics, and I say, well, we can only talk about what we've seen. We can't really judge the final game because the final game has a lot of new elements. And it's the same with bugs. I quite often hear people say to me, is there any bugs in it? Yes, it's a development game. When you're making a game, it has a million bugs to start with. Then it goes to Q&A. Then they have it, well, they're using it for a long time. But then after Q&A, it goes to final quality assurance, ECG, whatever department they have. Those are the guys that put together the final testing, and then it goes to submission at Sony or Microsoft or whatever, to all the companies. So there is a process, As a journalist or as a content creator, when you're seeing these games, you do see them at an early stage, and it's important they show them at the right stage. First impressions on this are going to matter a lot to people. They're going to want to see the physics. They're going to want to see the graphics, see the roads they want to drive. I know it's really important. That's why I'm just looking forward to it at this stage. The fact that we're seeing in-game screenshots and I can see it's coming along very nicely at this stage tells me that by the time it's released, it's going to look lush. So I guess if we were to make a guess, though, we've got Nacon Connect, haven't we, in the summer, something like that. I would suggest we'll probably see maybe a glimpse then of this sort of stuff in motion, but we'll wait and see. It's really, every year they've given us, last year they did the trailer and we thought gameplay, and we sat there for the whole event, and then right at the end there was a trailer with like reflections in the cars that showed a bit of scenery, not quite what we had in mind. So hopefully this year we'll see something a little bit more representative. Certainly it's coming along, but at the same time I want the developers to get the game right. There will be plenty of previews and videos and God knows what else. I'll be banging on the door, viewers, to get previews on this stuff. But I have just really good faith in the development team. Their hearts are in the right place. Let's see. Let's move on. That was a bit about WRC and the throttle. Some people have issues with the throttle on there. I have to admit, they fixed a perception of the issue some people have, which is the biting point in the clutch. But there you go. It all got blown out of all proportion, as many things do. Nigel, I remember those TDU days very fondly. Oh, thank you, Nigel. I have a bit of a soft spot for Kiloton Studios among the current devs. I hope they smash this one out of the park. I couldn't agree more about your closing statement. The racing game genre desperately needs a disruptor that will throw a spanner in the works. There's been a few rough gems, like the most recent Dakar game that actually are really quite good, but it's hampered by things such as performance primarily, and yet those games are more often than not more refreshing for me to play than annual releases and things stand currently. Absolutely. We need more racing developers. I see people all the time saying, Milestone should be doing TT, and Milestone should be doing Ride, and Milestone should be doing MotoGP. It's like, can't we have other developers competing? And the same thing in Rally. Codemasters should do all the Rally. Codemasters. No one else should be allowed to do Rally. If it's not as good as Codemasters out the box, no one else should do it. And it doesn't help. You need different games companies competing. You need different ideas artistically in terms of the approach. That's how you move things forward. So I think it is important for this game to come out there to capture what we liked about the original. And who knows, it might make for a change in the racing market as well. We'll wait and see. As for Dakar, I haven't played Dakar. Developers let me down very badly on Dakar, and that's another story. Right, Rizza5, a long time follower of the channel there. Always good seeing you and TDU return. Absolutely, thank you for that. Mr. Green, definitely liking what I've seen so far. Very much looking forward to cruising with everyone on HKI as I did the old TDU days. Again, I'm going to keep saying absolutely yes. I think just that idea of driving down the road and then seeing somebody and saying let's race, or let's have a cruise and meet a few people and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to doing online streams. I hope I can find some other content creators that want to do it as well. It makes it more fun when you can record all of those fun adventures. Marfran, I started following your channel with TDU2 back in the day. Such an amazing game. I hope you show us preview gameplay. I will. That's my intention. I've made it aware of Kiloton. Obviously, I've done a lot of the WRC, and now the WRC's over, I'll be focused heavily on TDU as soon as we get the option to see it and put together video content. So I do look forward to that. There'll be detailed previews. I think for me, I just want to drive it. I just want to explore the island. And again, it's like I was saying, I'm looking at videos. I want to look at that cliff face and just drive there. I want to just drive off-road because I can. That's what I've always liked about TDU. Yes, most of the time I'm driving quite sensibly with the traffic rules. But if I don't want to, I can just drive through those railings and go off the edge. Nick, the screenshots look really cool. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Personally, I'd like an open world racing game in the style of Microsoft Flight Simulator, but with cars and racing. that would be a great next gen. Well, in a way, you're kind of going to get something like that in this, but we'll just have to wait and see what kind of adventures and race modes there are, how it all comes together. It's difficult to say right now, but you will have a variety of racing options in here. GTB, TDU1 was my first game with a wheel, the Xbox 360 version. God, how I loved everything about that game. TDU2 cut back massively on the handling model, and it was just not good enough at the time. Hoping they can deliver on the handling, and I'll be a very happy man. So I'm kind of in two modes about it. See, for me, at the time Test Drive 1 came out, I was a big Project Gotham Racing 3 fan. And Test Drive 1 cut back a lot on the handling from Project Gotham. I remember playing it and liking the graphics. I think technically it was more advanced visually at the time. But for some reason, I don't know what it was, but there was just something about TDU2. Even the bad acting, you know, the characters are quite wooden and straightforward in the way they behaved. Even just giving myself a big nose for no reason in the plastic surgery building, the randomness that was in TDU2 had a bit more personality. So, but I agree fully with the physics, and I've always said that it was a little bit clunky. The graphics, it's funny, I look back now and I actually think it's a bigger achievement than I think I probably gave it credit for at the time, because of the scale of the open world. I mean, the open world, if you think about the data and the amount of stuff on that open world, up until that point, open world games had been generally pretty crappy in terms of the visuals. There wasn't a lot of open world games that had huge amounts of detail in there. So in terms of the scheme of things, it was impressive. And that's why, given the scale and detail of this map, these environments you're seeing here are very impressive. There's one corner of a map that you can explore, lots to do. I lost, B-Sweet raises a good point here. He said, I lost some interest when I initially revealed HKI. I want gigantic maps with long, fast roads as found in Oahu and Ibiza. But their latest newsletter has fascinated once again. Over 350 miles of road. Could be good. Also looking forward to the crew. Right, some really good points here. I felt the same way when I first heard about Hong Kong. I looked at it and thought, oh, I quite like the old open roads and the landscape of just driving off into a wilderness and not knowing when you were going to find life. I liked all of that in TDU. At the same time, TDU Solar Crown is a different prospect. It's a different type of TDU in terms of the city environment, the type of racing, the type of vehicles. I think there is going to be obviously some off-road elements in there as well, but it is definitely a different type of driving. But I think given the level of detail and the technology, they're trying something new. I think if they were just to retread the same islands that they've done before, it will look great. I mean, no doubt the crew will do a good job with it, but at the same time, if you said to me, let's model Hong Kong perfectly, I would say that's crazy. What are you talking about, modeling thousands of buildings and the amount of roads and details that there is in these regions? But they've taken it on, and at the moment I can only say, wow, it's looking good, given that there's still work to do on it. Seeing that running in motion smoothly is going to be... I already want to drive it based on the screenshots. So I wait and see what the environments are going to be like. But I just want to explore as well. I really do look forward to the exploration. BC also says, we're waiting for the return of Sunday Drives at TU2. Sunday Drives, if anybody remembers those, they're not actually all on the channel now. I don't know what happened to a few of them, but I used to just turn the camera on and say, right, we're just going to go for a drive. I've no idea what we're going to do. We're just going to explore. And at some point, for whatever reason, I'm just going to drive through a field because I can. And that might be exploring the island. It might be finding houses, or they used to have like photo mode points and all kinds of stuff that it might be. And so I'll be doing that. But also this time I'd like to do it more online as well, a lot more online, because we didn't have the live streaming back then. And when I was making the videos, for TDU2, I had a 486 DX2 PC, which took 12 hours to render a 720p 30 video. So to give you an idea, still got the camera. Here it is. Look, let's grab it. Don't all fall down. There we are. There we are. This is the actual camera I was using back then. So this is the camera that filmed all of my content, and then bang, the old USB goes into the PC, and away you go. And this is the entirety of Team VVV. Without this camera, there wouldn't be Team VVV. So it was all filmed on here. I'd set it up on a tiny £1 tripod, put it on a chair, and away I would go. I literally was so broke. And so that's how it was all done back in the day. And I will do, obviously now I've got proper equipment, and the Sunday drives will be a lot of fun. So expect that on streams. If you do want to see those streams, the plan at the moment is to put those streams on Twitch. I might do the odd one on YouTube. Likely I will stream on Twitch and then re-upload to YouTube, or add edits to YouTube. But the point of Sunday drives is sit back, chill out, and that's it. There's nothing too intense. I just want to, again, with test drive, I'm going to just sit there and play the game. And if I want to do the same race 5 times, I'll do the same race 5 times. If I want to paint my car or do something on my car, then I'm going to work on all that stuff. That's what I like about TDU. I just want to I want to enjoy my gaming, and you guys can share in my enjoyment of that. Jerry, I've been a fan of TDU since 2006. I'm cautiously optimistic. I like what I'm hearing about the features that will be in the game, but the lack of gameplay is concerning, to say the least. As I mentioned before, no problem there with gameplay. I've got total faith that when they're ready to show it, they can show it. But obviously, again, like I say, technically, making sure the lighting and the LODs and detail, because take those trees, for example, if they don't have all the LODs in place, you're going to see the trees changing as you drive towards them. Now that's no good in a gameplay reveal, especially when you know the final game won't have a problem. It'll be a smooth flow. So they've got to make sure the game is at the right level of polish before they're able to show you guys. These games are in development for years before they get to this stage. So rest assured, there'll be plenty of gameplay from many content creators before the game's released. I mean, it's funny with TDU to this content creation game, it just wasn't a thing back then. You know, I was one of very few people doing it. Now you're going to see TDU on, 100 different YouTube channels when it comes to gameplay near the time, and you'll get many different points of view from people who are revisiting, remembering things that they enjoyed, the casino, other elements, and just saying, hey, what's it going to be like now? We've got the nightclubs you can see in the trailer just there, and we've got cool tunnels and driving through the old alleyways and reflections. It's going to be lovely. Right, let's hope it looks like that, but it does look like that in the pictures, so let's hope. Bob Jenkins, hello Bob. Bob is a regular supporter of the channel and a YouTube channel member. Thank you for all of your support. I always appreciate it, Bob. Now, I'm not sure if you can see there, he also has, I'm going to point this out, actually, he also has the little member for 3 years, as somebody's revving outside as they do. Member for 3 years, and he gets a nice little helmet there as well. Lovely. Right, Centurion. Okay, now I'm not sure if I'm misremembering, but I think the first TDU game I ever played was my best mate's early PC. So early, in fact, the entire game was just frame meshes with hexagonal steering wheel. There'd been test drive games over the years before the unlimited variants. So early, in fact, the entire game was just wireframe meshes with hexagonal steering wheel. Well, we were stoked because we could change gears. The steering wheel would rotate, and when these tyre wireframe dots hit what was meant to be the windscreen, we could use the wipers. A lot of it was our imagination on gamings back then. Now, on a much more somber note, popular conversation was heard tragic news about Craig Breen. I remember you mentioning you met him and had the chance to be a passenger with him at some point. So the whole situation may have hit you harder than most people because you've met the man. I follow the Irish Tarmac Rally Championship and a father-daughter team campaigning in a GRP4 Mark II Escort, and had an accident that was disconcertingly similar to Craig's. The car was a wreck, but luckily they were able to walk away. These situations serve as to open one's eyes to the fact that no matter how safe they try to make motorsports, these men and women are literally putting their lives on the line every time they're up for a special stage. R.I.P. Craig. R.I.P. Craig, great guy. I would love to do a video talking about different meetings. I've met people different times over the years, and we've talked about that below. Craig, it was a big shock to see his passing. These guys do take incredible risks. He was a really nice guy. He was a straight talker, and his driving was relentless. It was brutal, and it was always a privilege to be in the car with these guys. They don't know how to go slow. I have good memories, and you would often see I drove as Craig Breen whenever I played the game. I was always following his journey for the last 14 years or so. So it was very sad of his passing. And I was thinking this year, 3 people I've done interviews with, and some of them I've met a few times. Ken Block passing earlier this year, footballer Gianluca Vialli. Again, he gave me a lot of time when I interviewed him about his life in football years ago. And of course, Craig Breen, all taken too soon there. But thank you, Bob, for that always. Drunk supporter character. Remember the lighthouse spot on TDU Hawaii map? I do. You just meet up people at random, take screenshots, park next to each other. People will pop up, crash into you and say sorry and actually mean it, and randomly talk about stuff. It's weird community, really just playing in cars. And as you said, bonding with probably our favourite cards and just reflect on life with others. Didn't need to do anything special back then, and yet no game does this still to this day. I'd just like to hope that this really pops with all the disappointing racing games right now, and that other IPs will clone and add to the formula. And maybe, just maybe, we will get a good 10 years worth of open world racing games without the bull. Well, I agree. This is what I like about it. I was saying to you about the Sunday drives. It's not going to be about, oh no, I've got to race and compete for my A or my A plus like in Gran Turismo. Everything feels like stress when you're racing in Gran Turismo these days. Everything feels like you're under pressure. I think on test drive, you just want it to be fun. Yes, some people want to race, let them race. Some people just want to cruise and explore the map, have some fun with each other. Great, and I like that. Let's drive to this spot. Let's explore something. Let's take some photographs. That's what I like about test drive, and I hope that when you look at the Hong Kong map and you look at the buildings and you look at the range of areas there are, the times of day, the mountainous regions, I mean, there's so much to explore there. I can't wait. So I don't know. You've got the original developer in Alain Jarnou working on it. He can't say anything about the game, obviously, and when you ask any questions, there's nothing that can be said about it right now, but I'm sure as soon as he can talk about it, he will, and I know that it's in the right hands. Getting the original developers involved is critical. Was that me? I hope it's like the old TDUs, like you said. I was a team when I played them, and I also drove like it mattered, drove the limit most of the time, stopped at the lights and signs just to be a car fan. I wish I could have enjoyed it online, but oh well. When you see TDU online, it's a different experience entirely to offline. I just like I know it sounds really silly, but just saying to your friend, look, I'm going to meet you at this part of the map, and then just driving across the map and then seeing them parked on the street saying, right, let's go. And then, or they're doing donuts somewhere. It's just fun to find a friend or do something like that on the map. Very different. Like I say, you can race together. It just never feels like it never feels like it matters too much. It just feels like you can enjoy it and have fun with it. Richard Spencer, absolutely same for me. Great game. Did exactly the same after hardcore Toka GT Forza session with Relax and TDU. Try to drive as normally as possible for an hour or so, just cruising. And that's what I really like. It's just cruising, exploring those roads. So many roads to explore. It's going to be fantastic. So, Gaming Legends, great fan of TDU. Hope it's offline as well. No, TDU, the whole point of TDU is that it's an online game. I expect it to be online because that's what TDU is. It just doesn't work as well offline. I guess in many ways, TDU is like one of those always online games. It was one of the first types, and it was ahead of its time with when you think about what they tried to achieve and all the customization options that you have in many games today that were already in TDU back then, these guys are ahead of the curve. So no, this game is an online game, and it's one of those things. The Ruse, do you know if you'll be able to get out of your vehicle and walk around like you could in TDU2? I loved how you could go to different dealerships and walk and explore cars. So I guess the idea of TDU will be, I mean, you sort of get out of your car when you go to a dealership, and they're bound to be parts like your house or whatever they do with a house setup where you walk around and do stuff. It's not like GTA in that way. It's just a matter of traversing buildings and stuff like that. You do have the RPG elements that will come into it, and that's going to be really interesting to see the two factions that they've got and how that all ties in with the game. So I look forward to that and just exploring some of the interiors as well as the exteriors. I mean, let's think about that for a second. You know, not only have they had to model Hong Kong Island, but also interiors of some buildings and stuff like that. A lot of work. I can't wait, says Ultra Jad Boy. Absolutely. Chris M, I hope they give us offline mode, and I've already said that no, they won't. It's just not the point of this game. Lance, I played TDU1 so much. My McLaren F1 had 6,000 miles on it when I retired my PS2. That's a serious amount of mileage. Lewis Montana, very strange. We've not had no gameplay yet. I've been over that. Not strange at all. Nothing to worry about. They need to wait till the right time. And Unlimited Run Photoshop is updated. I don't know what that's to do with. Perhaps there was something that happened in a video that I wasn't aware of. But that's it for this chat on Test Drive and looking at the screenshots. There's been a new screenshot released in the last few days. I don't have it available to look at on the screen, just of one of the petrol stations. Again, looking forward to driving these cars. I think we're just waiting now for a gameplay trailer, something to give us a glimpse of this island in action and give us an idea of the vibe of the game. I mean, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a long wait now, and I think everybody's ready. The buzz is building, but they're definitely going to have to start. They're going to keep it going every month, they said now, with news and info, screenshots. But I say at some point we're going to need a really quality trailer. I love the trailer from a couple of years ago. I love that trailer and the music in it. I actually followed the musician after that. Some great tunes in it. Anyway, I'm rambling. That's it for this look. Your comments. Thank you for all of your comments on the chat and all of those that support the channel and the members, everything like that. I really appreciate what you do. And that's it from me for now. As ever, more soon.